Good evening, Who Dat Nation, and happy Wednesday on a Friday, Bayou Blitz family. I hope everybody is doing well out there. We are your weary Bayou Blitz hosts. My name is Bob Rose. His name is Brendan Boylan, and we are happy to be coming to you live on a special Friday evening broadcast where we get to tweak our pregame preview a little bit because we know. We know a lot more about the injury report. I know when we go live on Wednesdays, we're usually speculating, but the Friday injury report came out, and barring any surprises, we know who is going to be in and out, for the New Orleans Saints versus the Chicago Bears this Sunday. And with that, happy Wednesday on a Friday to you, Mr. Brendan.
Yeah, thank you guys for bearing with my schedule. I did want to take a moment and thank the people that did come out last night for the 5th anniversary screening of the Dancing Bulldogs. For the people that were there in spirit and not in person, I thank you as well. Yeah, thanks, Bob. Appreciate it. I mean, look. This is it's an ongoing joke with the group. Is not all four of us have been together in the same room since the project started. It's been 5 years, and yet again, 2 of us show and 2 of us don't. Life happens, right? We live in different parts of the state at this point. It's not a hop, skip, and a jump for everybody, so I understand, but it's an ongoing joke. So we even had the director of the film was there in spirit instead of actually, being there. And it was nice to kind of look back. It's been a long time since I've seen the film, honestly. So it was nice to kind of sit back. I was a lot thinner back then as well. But it was good to kind of relive some of those moments and memories with people. We did have one member from that team in attendance. That was pretty cool. And the lead assistant, who is now the head coach of the university, was in attendance as well. So it was cool to be with them as they got to kind of relive those things in real time as well. So just a special shout out and thank you. 2020 was weird. You and I were working together in 2020. That was our second year working together. 2020 was weird. I think the weirdest part of 2020 for me was I was working on a film that had a $0 budget, and I also had a $0 budget because I wasn't getting paid to write. Oh, wait. Was that a different show, Bob? Was that for next week's show? Sorry, let that one slip.
It's an upcoming show that we'll just call it "Bearing It All" on the Bayou Blitz. About a couple criminally corrupt organizations. And a pathetic, cowardly liar of a boss. I can't wait to unveil that one. Screenshots loading, folks, getting the legalities of some of it down. There will be legalities. It might be fun. Get your popcorn ready.
Yeah. It was that was funny, to kind of look back and be like, man, we did a whole film from nothing. In all actuality, all jokes aside and all kind of seriousness of what we just mentioned aside, like it was nice to go back and be like, wow, we did that with no money, no budget. And also, like, there were things that I hadn't seen before, right? We had little clips and kind of like a video package that was put together by our director to kind of lead us into that night. And there were things that I hadn't seen before because I wasn't there, right? So the one thing that really stood out to me was there was a part of that intro video, and it was a clip of our director and our first associate director accepting our awards as the best. It's actually right behind me. Outstanding filmmaker to Brendan Boylan. Outstanding filmmaker for having met the highest standards of excellence at the 2021 North Carolina Film Festival. So I was not there for the festival. They were, and the festival director said the one thing that he took away from the film was presentation is important. Image
Mm-hmm.
is important, but it will
Mm-hmm.
never be more important than the story. And that we had, and he looked at our director and said, you guys had a hell of a story. And that a lot of the things of, we did it all through Zoom and kind of what we're doing right now. We did an entire 90-minute movie that way. Right. And so I think a lot of those things got forgiven or looked over, if you will, by some of the film festivals because of the circumstances, but also because we had a good story and we were able to put together something pretty cool. So enough about me, but I did want to take a moment to kind of shout out the people that were there in spirit and all the people that helped put that together, because it was really special. And I also wanted to give a quick shout out to, people who, I was doing work for, not getting paid. So not getting paid to make a movie, but also not getting paid to do my actual job.
Listen, I know you are an expert at poking the beehive.
With you, it's the best.
I know it is.
Favorite pastime.
I know it is, because those hornets in my psyche and my head are always ready to strike.
See, my hornets just make me depressed. That's the basketball team Hornets.
Right. But in all seriousness, I mean, congratulations to you. Congratulations to your team. Obviously I've gotten to know you very well over the years. Gotten to know Mr. Manning, kind of well. He's a great guy too. Love sitting down with you guys a couple years ago together, and doing that quick interview. I'm sorry the story of being a dysfunctional Bob didn't win you another award.
That podcast is coming back too, so that's I guess that's
nice.
Breaking news too. We sat and talked and said, it's been a long time. Let's bring it back. So, but you're absolutely right. We will have to have Bob back on to tell more dysfunctional stories, because more dysfunction has happened.
Yeah, much more dysfunction has happened. But I tell you what, you folks, what I mean, we like to joke. We like to have a good time. We like to go after people who feel like they're deserving of being gone after. Just call us the podcast version of Dexter for you fans of that show. That's what I could be Cyber Dexter.
Okay, I was a little extreme. Like, we're not doing any of that.
For now,
I'm not. Can't speak.
Okay, okay, that's fair. But like you said a minute ago, so much has happened in the last 5 years, and we all know what went down in 2020 to change most of our lives. But it's not always for the worst either. You have yourself a beautiful wife. I have myself a beautiful wife. A couple of really great kids, and we as a team at the Bayou Blitz have gotten to are honored to be partners with and have gotten to know the people at Get Checked or Check Out. We talk about them every week. I consider them very close friends. And they represent such an outstanding cause. First and foremost, Get Checked or Check Out, and the Bayou Blitz wants to remind everybody that October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. Pink Pink October since the 1980s. Most people know what the pink ribbons stand for. Breast cancer survivor, breast cancer fighter, etc. But a couple things that y'all may not know is that breast cancer is the second most commonly diagnosed cancer globally, which gives even more importance to getting yourself screened regularly, being proactive, and staying informed. And a couple ways you can do that is obviously get regular mammograms, have awareness of your family history, and do self-checks at home. That increases your odds for early detection and vastly improves your treatment outcomes. A couple other things that you can help yourself maintain a healthy weight, get regular exercise, eat a healthy diet as regularly as you can, limit alcohol consumptions, and absolutely positively don't smoke or do recreational drugs. Those things not only help decrease your chances of breast cancer, but help your lifestyle in so many other ways. Because I mean, yeah, get checked or check out first and foremost. They're concerned about your health. They are, however, an organization that's in place that if you do get a negative or a fearful health diagnosis and you don't know where to turn next, you don't know what to do, you're just, I mean, you feel like your world is falling apart. Get checked or check out, and the website is right there at the bottom of the screen. It's tcynow.org. Check them out. But get checked or check out will help you help steer you in the right direction as far as treatment options, research, therapy, both individual and family, both physical and mental / emotional, and for the individual or your group, your family, your inner circle. But to be there for us, we need to be there for them. Again, check out that website, donate if you can. Every little bit helps. But get checked or check out. Certainly, once us, again, they're promoting Breast Cancer Awareness Month for the month of October. But for any health-related issues, physical or mental, make those doctor's appointments. Ask questions. Be aware of your family history. Try to lead as healthy a lifestyle as you can, and not only for yourself, but do so for your family members. Help your family members be proactive in their own lifestyles, because you want to keep them around as much as possible. You want to keep them around as much as they want to keep you around. Now, any donation that we can give to tcynow.org helps. But the major fundraiser that they hold every single year is the original Go Black and Gold Celebrity Charity Fan Cruise. This has been going on for 12 straight years. Myself and my family were honored to go for the first time last year. And let me tell you, we had an absolute blast. And we're going to make it a part of our regular yearly family trips. We circle this on your calendar, folks. March 26th through March 30th. Those are the days for the 2026 cruise. March 26th through March 30th. Now this year, excuse me, this year they're not leaving from New Orleans. They are instead leaving from Jacksonville, Florida. The destination is new as well. The destination for this year's cruise, for the next year's cruise, I guess technically, is the Bahamas. March 26th through March 30th. This is a Carnival cruise line. You can book your cabin now through Summer Cochran. Summer's number is 985-643-6958. Now that's Summer's cell line, so you can either text or call her to book your room, and you only have to book it with a small deposit. The remaining balance does not have to be paid off until January, after Christmas. And when you book with Summer, and please do so soon because these cabins are going to start to go fast. When you book with Summer, make sure you mention us. Make sure you mention the Bayou Blitz. She'll know exactly how to take care of you. Now, there's so many great things on this cruise that sets it apart from not only other cruises, but other events associated with NFL teams or really any professional sport. There are going to be a handful of Saints greats on this cruise. The 5 that have confirmed so far are Delvin Breaux, Tyrone Hughes, Michael Lewis, Courtney Roby, and Pierre Thomas. All 5 of those guys went last year too. Got to know them even better than what I already knew them, and their families, such great people. So awesome to hang out with. There'll be more Saints coming, but those are the 5 that are confirmed. This cruise is going to have a highly competitive putt-putt golf tournament. I'm hearing a karaoke contest, trivia contest, Q&A sessions, and autograph sessions with the Saints players I just mentioned. But even more importantly, you don't have just limited access to these guys. You're hanging out with them. They're hanging out with you the entire time. You're eating meals together, sitting down together at dinner, hanging out at the beach, hanging out at the bars, the casinos, wherever you like to hang out at events like this. And that just, it gives you such a unique opportunity to get to know these guys off the field. And I will tell you, and I knew this already before last year's cruise, I knew what good guys these all five of them are. But it was such a pleasure, such a privilege to get to hang out with them and know them even better. Their families were hanging out with my family, and that's what it is. This is a family environment. We basically all, everybody that's going on this event, we basically have our own section of the boat. And I can't stress enough, not only how much fun this is, but how much this helps such a great organization. So please, for me and for yourself, make those appointments, keep up on your health, and book that cabin today for the 2026 Original Go Black and Gold Celebrity Charity Fan Cruise. I want to get to know more of you face to face, and what better way to do it than trap us all on a boat for 4 or 5 days, right?
4 or 5 days trapped on a boat with Bob Rose. I mean, I think you just sold it right there. I think that's all people needed to hear, to be like, yeah, I'm going. Especially after you just made the Dexter joke. So I mean, why would you not?
Yeah, what could possibly go wrong?
Yeah, find out next time. All right, guys, let's talk some football. There is a game to talk about. I do want to address, obviously, what you see at the bottom of your screen with Alvin Kamara's comments. I do also want to address something else, and I kind of want to get this one out of the way first, Bob, if you don't mind, of course. There have been a couple accounts that have all of a sudden been trending a little bit because of some verbiage they've used to describe Spencer Rattler lately. You and I did a really good job for a while, and I even think to this point have done a good job of not talking quarterback too much, but my God, does this have to be addressed? I think you know where I'm going with this, is the accounts that are saying, oh, he's playing like a franchise quarterback. If he was drafted in the first round instead of the fifth, and this and that and the other. Guys, at least for me, I'll let Bob speak for himself. You guys know that I have been a fan of the prospect of Spencer Rattler since the draft happened, right? I think I've been very clear that I think with the proper weapons around him, he could be a good NFL quarterback. And some of the progressions that we've seen this year, I think he could be a long-time backup quarterback if those pieces never are built around him. Right? I think he's done enough to buy himself some time in this league, which is ultimately what I wanted to see this year. Enough growth to go, you know what, he's bought enough time in the league. To make a statement that he's been playing like a franchise quarterback is preposterous. It is dangerous. And thank God you guys aren't journalists, because that would be career suicide to write something like that. It would be a very quick way to get you maybe not completely out the door, but a good talking to from your publisher, right? Because he's not. And yes, I know that any journalist will take a statement like that and find the statistics to back it up.
Sure.
If they have to. When it really should be the opposite, you should be able to look at numbers and build your story, opposed to build a story and then go back and try to find the numbers to back it up, right? Common sense. The numbers aren't great. All right, we've talked about that for weeks. The passing yards numbers, probably not where you want them to be. He's not throwing a lot of touchdowns. He's not throwing a lot of interceptions, but he's not throwing a lot of touchdowns either. Bob and I have become a broken record over the last few weeks of, well, he's a guy that's not going to lose you a lot of games, but he's also a guy that's not going to win you any single-handedly. He has played pretty well the last few weeks. But I also think that's relative to the fact that we didn't think the quarterback play was going to be good at all this year. He's been okay. I saw somebody even take it a step further and say, this Saints fan base is a joke because, they crucified Derek Carr for playing average, but they're praising Spencer Rattler for playing average.
There's something to that.
I agree and disagree.
Right.
Right. I agree in the sense that, they're both playing average. I disagree in the sense, Derek Carr was not paid to be average. Spencer Rattler was drafted to probably not be the starter. So, I understand where people are coming from, though, right? We have to get this idea out of our minds as fans that the Saints are anywhere close to finding a franchise quarterback. Maybe they did with Tyler Shuck. Maybe they did. We don't know because he hasn't played. So you can't make that statement either. But there is nothing on Spencer Rattler's tape or resume that should make anyone believe, the Saints found their guy. Because there's nothing on tape that tells us that. Zero. Nothing. Has he played okay? Sure. Has he played well enough to buy himself some more time? Absolutely, especially after the Giants game, because that was a game in which Bob was like, "Oh, it's ready." You were ready to say, "Okay, now's the time to make the switch." And my argument was, if you give him this game and he wins, it's going to be really hard to make the switch after that. And if they go on to the next week and he plays okay, it's going to be even harder. And he's kind of on that trajectory and that path where he's playing well enough to where it's really hard to bench him. But that doesn't mean you're a franchise quarterback. It just means you're good enough not to be benched. There's a lot of guys in the league right now that are not franchise quarterbacks, but they're playing well enough to not be benched. I'll leave it to you, Bob.
Okay. You all right?
Do you want full screen or no? Because you have that smirk on your face.
Oh, no. I was smirking at you. I want to make sure you're all right before I proceed.
Oh, it's just... people are dumb. So I say in traffic every day. People are just dumb.
Yes. Listen, unlike you, I was more critical, far more critical of Spencer Rattler, the prospect, even in my draft analysis before the Saints selected him. It's not that I didn't like him. I saw too many flaws, for me to like him in that system at the time or this system now. Now, having said that, I think Spencer Rattler has played pretty well.
Yeah. At
the very least, even if you're a Rattler critic, not hater, because the haters, you can't talk to them. It's like talking to a brick wall. But the Spencer Rattler critics even have to acknowledge the improvements that we've seen in Spencer's game, not only from last year to this year, but throughout almost every single week this year. I think he is one of the biggest parts of Rattler's game I was critical of was his lack of pocket presence. And I'm on record over the last 2 or 3 weeks as saying, he's developed really good pocket presence. He's a gamer, a competitor. Don't think any of us would have denied that from the start. And he's even beginning to improve his accuracy on the intermediate and downfield throws. Still not where I want it to be, but far better than what we saw, again, not just last year or going back through college, but even from the beginning of this year. But like you said, Brendan, anybody that wants to anoint him as the franchise quarterback either needs to acknowledge that they're a family member of Spencer Rattler or needs to check themselves into a drug and alcohol rehab center immediately because you are unsafe to be out in society. Am I completely discounting the fact that Spencer Rattler could be a franchise quarterback? No. I acknowledge and agree with what you said that we have seen nothing on tape throughout any point in his career to indicate that he's a franchise quarterback. But I'm also not going to say it's not going to happen. Just like I'm not going to say, like you Shuck haters, I'm not going to say Tyler Shuck can't be a franchise quarterback because he hasn't played yet. Does it decrease the possibility with each week that Rattler isn't a franchise quarterback that he'll become one? Yeah. Does it decrease the possibility that when Shuck doesn't play every week that he could be the franchise? Yeah. Also, yeah. But I mean, Dan Marino didn't start until halfway through his rookie year. John Elway didn't really show he was a franchise quarterback until really year 3. And I mean, I could go on and on and on with examples. Brett Favre was run out of town by the team that drafted him before he became Brett Favre with the Packers. And again, we could throw out countless examples. Right now, all you and I want, all you guys as Saints fans should be improved play at the quarterback position, regardless of who it is, whether it's Rattler, whether it's Shuck. You want improved play at this position until you find your franchise guy, whether it's Rattler, whether it's Shuck, whether it's a 2026 draft pick. No matter where it comes from, no matter who it is, it's going to take some time. But I think Rattler has at least proven, like you said, that he is an NFL quarterback. Maybe a guy that bounces around a few teams as a spot starter and a quality backup. That's still more than a lot of guys get in this lifetime. Again, right now, I'm not focused on any of that. I am focused on how well Spencer Rattler, how much improving Spencer Rattler is doing week to week in a system with offensive personnel, frankly, that doesn't fit his best skill sets. And Alan Ulrich and I had talked a little bit about that on Under the Dome on Tuesday. Asked me to describe the Saints offense, and I likened it to a cooking term of a bunch of ingredients, throwing a bunch of ingredients into a pot that don't really go together, like cinnamon and garlic, for instance. This is just off the top of my head. It's not the way I cook, folks. And what I mean by that is Spencer Rattler would look like a hell of a lot better quarterback if he had a Michael Thomas or a Marcus Colston or a Jimmy Graham. I mean, anybody would with those guys. But my point is, Rattler's a guy that likes to attack east to west, short, quick passes, the occasional intermediate shot. You need big body guys for that, especially for the intermediate throws. What the Saints instead have is a track team at wide receiver. Receivers that do best are most effective, either taking the top off a defense or getting the ball to them on the move so they can make plays in the open field. Well, that's not the strengths of Rattler's game, and that kind of segues into as we near our trade rumor conversation. I do wonder out loud how much Rattler would be if he had the weapons that fit the skill sets that he best utilizes. And right now the Saints offense in general, and I don't blame it on any one person. You want to blame a little bit on Rattler. Does he need to be more accurate? Yeah. More decisive? Yeah. Okay. Although we've seen improvements there. What about the play calling? Play calling, does it need to improve? Yeah. But I still think Kellen Moore is getting a feel for his offensive players. Certainly, the player's execution, the receiver's ability to A, hold on the ball, B, get separation, obviously important. Offensive line, ability to protect, establish the running game so you get balance. Yeah, all that needs to improve. And even at its best, I think right now, this still feels like a bunch of ingredients that don't really go together in the same dish.
We kind of knew that going into the year, though.
Yeah.
Because even if Shuck was quarterback, yeah, a little bit of a different skill set. But I still don't know if this team would have best fit his skill set his rookie year either. Let's get into trade rumors. The biggest news was the fact that it was openly spoken about. I think sometimes is the biggest news. A lot of times it's kind of this weird thing that gets murmurs throughout a locker room or murmurs among the reporters, but nobody ever really asks the question and none of the players really address it. It's kind of just the elephant in the room for everyone. But Alvin Kamara addressed it, and addressed it in a way that really Alvin Kamara can, and was honest and straightforward and said, I don't have an office upstairs. He then joked, I have an office in Charlotte with NASCAR, but not here. But that if he was in that spot, he'd understand Mickey having to come downstairs and tell somebody, hey, you're getting traded. But if that happened, that he'd just be sipping pina coladas somewhere.
Well, and I'm going to interrupt you for a second. Most people seem to automatically assume that Kamara said he's going to retire if he gets traded. Now, that's not the way you need to take it at all. I'll tell you the way I took it was that Alvin Kamara wants to be in New Orleans, wants to be a New Orleans Saint, and he's made that pretty clear for years now.
He even said that in the interview.
He did.
I want to be here.
He did. But the mojito comment, or whatever it was, mojitos, whatever drink of choice he mentioned.
Yeah, whatever tropical drink it was.
Yeah, whatever he said, I just took that to mean, man, if I get traded, I'm going to be so depressed, I'm going out to get drunk, which I also respect for a variety of reasons, if you know me. I don't think any of us should take that to mean Alvin's threatening to retire if he gets traded. But I haven't addressed the Alvin Kamara trade rumors a lot. We haven't as a duo because neither of us think it's going to happen. Not only because of what Kamara said, but I think the team still feels like he is a leader that they can rebuild around. And that is a key element to any of these trade talks. Yeah, what kind of value are you going to bring back? And we've discussed that about Kamara a couple weeks ago, I think, compared to, can this guy still give you some good football and lend something effective to what you're trying to rebuild in New Orleans? And I think the answer to both of those are yes.
Yeah, I also think that to kind of pivot from what you said and pivot more into trade value, no offense to Alvin Kamara, I don't know what he's worth anymore. And that's not a knock on his play. I think more than anything, it's a knock on his age.
At the age and the devaluing of the running back position in general, yeah.
Just what is he worth now? What would a team like a contender, right, be willing to give up to get him? And in my mind, I'm like, there's probably not a team willing to give you a second. It's probably a third. It's probably similar. It's probably similar to the Marshawn Lattimore trade, where you're probably getting like a day 2 comp pick and a day 3 pick, and that's it. And then in your mind, you weigh that and you go, is that really worth giving up a guy who has made it very clear he wants to be here? A. B, a guy that the fan base adores. And then C, a guy that you think can still give you some pretty good value. Is that really worth getting a late day 2 pick and a day 3 pick that might not even make your roster? I don't know. I don't think it is. So I'm with you. I don't think we've talked about it because I don't think it's likely to happen at this point. However, when we did have that conversation when I was in Seattle, we talked about, well, though his name didn't come up because I had proposed the question of veterans, I would not be surprised about Chris Olave being shopped. I don't know what his value is at this point either. I think it's probably a 3rd-round pick.
I think you might be able to get a second. And listen, I think Chris Olave is going to be moved. It goes back to and a couple reasons why. And first of all, if you follow me and my work, and particularly over at the Saints Wire, I'm going to write an article exactly on this subject this weekend. I wrote one about Pete Warner specifically this weekend, or today. My take on Olave is going to be this weekend. But yeah, in a nutshell, you and I, Brendan, have been pretty critical about Chris Olave most of this season.
Yep.
For good reason, in my opinion. He's not putting up the numbers of a number one receiver, of a featured wideout. His yards per catch, 8.8 yards per catch. I mean, that's a joke. Chris is counting $6.2 million against the salary cap right now. The Saints have already picked up his fifth-year rookie option, which means he's under contract for next year. No matter, he can't go anywhere unless the Saints want him to. But because that option year was picked up, his cap number jumps to $15.5 million next year. Now, it's not like the Saints are up against the salary cap. So they don't need to get rid of Chris Olave to save the money. But the question has to be asked. You're pretty close to paying for a number one wideout money in 2026 with that fifth-year option. Chris Olave is damn sure going to want at least between $22 and $25 million a year on average with his next contract if you're going to keep him around. What's he done to show you that he is the player that you can build your offense around? I just got done talking about how this offense, is Chris Olave a talent? Yes. And I love Chris Olave as a football player, but not as a number one wide receiver. I think he's proven that he is not that. Therefore, why would you want to spend money on a number one guy who's not a number one guy? My opinion is, I think if you look around the league, San Francisco 49ers, all kinds of injuries at wideouts. The Buffalo Bills could certainly use another weapon for Josh Allen. The Kansas City Chiefs are always looking for another weapon for Patrick Mahomes, and really haven't had, Olave isn't this, but really haven't had a number one guy since wideout since Tyreek Hill was traded away. So if you don't have a number one guy, then you need a bunch of number twos. I think Olave can be a quality number two. And because of that, if you line up Chris Olave and Alvin Kamara and you say, make your best offer, I think you get more for Chris Olave than you do Alvin Kamara. Not to mention for the reasons I just mentioned, plus the fact that Olave is significantly younger. And I've heard the argument, well, if you're trying to build a young quarterback via Rattler or Shuck, why would you start taking away their weapons? No, folks, we're not talking about a fire sale here. Again, we're talking about ingredients that just aren't mixing. Would the Saints offense be a worse unit without Chris Olave? Yes, in the short term they would. But you also need a number one wide receiver. Your best way to get that without paying through the nose is through the draft. Well, you need draft picks to do that because you have several needs to fill, not just at wide receiver. Trading a player like Chris Olave can bring you easily a day 2 pick and probably a day 3 pick, perhaps 2 day 2 picks. On number one, a first round draft choice, no, I doubt it. But maybe you get a late second, if you deal with one of the contenders I just mentioned. Maybe you get a couple thirds or a third and a fourth or a second and a fourth. Either way, I think Chris Olave vastly increases your draft capital to build around said young quarterback.
I think I said it last week, may have been the week before, talking about number one receivers and what Saints fans have come to expect from number one wideouts. Right, I brought up Joe Horn, Marcus Colston, Mike Thomas. All of those dudes made plays when they absolutely had to.
when everybody in the stadium knew that the ball was coming to him.
And they still did. And Chris hasn't done that. At least the last few years. He had moments his rookie year.
Mm-hmm. You know who was on the other side of him?
Yeah, I do.
Michael Thomas.
Yeah, exactly. Because he wasn't a number one receiver at that point. I think that's the frustrating thing is there was hope he could be a number one receiver. I think he's shown you it's not his strongest suit. But like you said, the ingredients thing, it'd be a lot different if they had a true number one or a true big-bodied guy.
Yeah.
Right? But we said it all off season. How it didn't make much sense to have Olave, Shaheed, and Brandon Cooks. It just didn't. You kind of hoped that third receiver spot would be a bigger-bodied guy.
Mm-hmm.
Bailey hasn't played a whole lot. Which, that's going to be a different conversation for a different day.
Yeah.
But if he continues not to play a whole lot, it's going to be like, well, then why the hell did you make the trade?
Uh-huh.
Like, was it a lot? No. What was it? A seventh and was it a fourth and a seventh?
A fourth and a seventh, yeah.
Yeah, it was like it wasn't.
Which basically was a fourth because you swapped the sixth for the set. Yeah, you included a sixth to get the seventh, or something like that. So basically, it was a fourth.
Not awful, but why not play him? Anyway.
Well, again, if you move on from a player like Olave, and I know Shaheed's name has been thrown about too,
which surprises me. I don't think that's going to happen.
No, I don't either. I think trading Chris Olave makes more sense than trading Rashid Shaheed. I don't think you trade both. You trade both. You've essentially given up on your season, and you've thrown Rattler or Shuck, whoever you decide to is the quarterback to finish your season. You've thrown them into the absolute wolves without a weapon. Without weapons. I know Shaheed is due to be a free agent next year, but Shaheed is a game breaker who would be as a return man, and a potential game breaker as a maybe a 2B receiver if you have a legitimate number one. Again, if Olave is that legitimate number one, Shaheed's making a hell of a lot more plays. I also think you get more in return for Chris Olave. And if you compare the finances, you line them up side by side. The New Orleans Saints would have to pay more to keep Chris Olave than Rashid Shaheed. I'm not saying I prefer Shaheed as a player, although frankly I do. I am saying the two give you similar things. Shaheed with the added special teams value, and you can keep Shaheed for cheaper than you can keep Chris Olave.
Yeah, I wouldn't understand a situation in trading Shaheed because of the extra value. If we're just talking about him as a receiver, like, okay, yeah, maybe you do trade him to a team that needs a game breaker. I mean, you brought up Tyreek Hill's name earlier. Like, maybe you trade him to a team that could use a guy that could take the top off. Every team in the league could use that. But he's too valuable as a return man. Right? And I don't know how the Saints have done it, but a name that I think is going to get forgotten about and maybe disrespected a little bit is how good Deontay Hardy was as a return man as well. And that's how good Shaheed was.
Better,
exactly. That it made him expendable as a return man. I mean, you're talking about a guy who was a Pro Bowler, right? Hardy was a Pro Bowler as a return man, or an All-Pro. I don't remember which one. Before Shaheed came to town. So, yeah, I wouldn't understand that one. Defensively, I don't. We've talked about Cam Jordan. Cam wants to be here. I think the team honors that. I don't see a situation where, they're like, okay, let's get a 5th round pick, a 4th round pick for Cameron Jordan. I don't think they do. I don't think they do either. But unless Cam says, I do want to go compete for a championship,
right?
Then you grant his wish. I think that would be the thing. But there's never been an indication that he wants that.
Yeah, and I feel to see it the exact same way with Demario Davis. Now, the San Francisco 49ers are a team to watch here. The 49ers lost Bosa, I believe, for the year. The 49ers lost Fred Warner, also probably for the year.
No, absolutely for the year.
If I'm San Francisco, I'm calling about Chase Young. I don't think that happens. And I'm calling about right. And I'm probably calling about Carl Granderson too, another player I'm going to write a trade related article on. And I'm calling about Demario Davis. Now, in my Pete Werner article today, I included the 49ers in potential trade suitors because of the Werner injury. Pete Werner is no Demario Davis. I mean, age aside, I know Werner is significantly younger than Davis, but there's a big difference here, folks. Davis still makes plays. Werner never has, ever. He makes tackles. He doesn't make plays. Is that enough for a team like San Francisco, Philadelphia, Buffalo? Their run defenses have struggled. They could eye up a Pete Werner and say, you know what? He adds to our linebacker depth. He's an asset against the run. We'll just need to figure out a way to hide his liability in coverage. Because for the same reason you said Cam Jordan is unlikely to get moved, I don't believe Demario Davis gets moved. Again, unless either or both players says, you know what, I'd like a chance to compete for a championship. Thank you, New Orleans. I love you. My heart will always be here, but I want a chance to compete for a ring. That's the only way they get moved, is if they want it.
Yeah, and I think Demario would be more likely because it would very much be a rental. I mean, Cam would too. But for a team, you brought up the Niners, for a team that has an injury at linebacker, you are renting Demario Davis. It is not a long-term investment into Demario Davis. It would be the same thing for Cameron Jordan, but you're getting more value in terms of a guy who could play every down out of Demario Davis than you would Cam Jordan. And Cam can play every down, but not to the same effectiveness of Demario Davis. Let's preview this game. More time for trade talk because it'll dominate the news and the media until the deadline comes. Fun game. Multiple storylines you could go after. So I'm going to just throw a few out there and we'll see which one you want to run with. And I think we'll talk about all of them eventually, right? The first one is the Saints versus Dennis Allen. The second is Kendre Miller versus Dennis Allen. The third, Spencer Rattler, Caleb Williams.
Thank you.
Is a really interesting one. Because of Oklahoma, which neither of them finished their career at. How weird was that? Like, nobody's talking about this. You had two guys that back-to-back years were the number one quarterback recruits in their class. Both failed miserably at Oklahoma. Both went to schools called USC on opposite sides of the country and found some success there. I know you could kind of question both, but both had their moments at those schools and ultimately were drafted.
At pretty much opposite ends of the spectrum.
Yeah. It's a really fun, interesting storyline. And you don't know how many times they're going to battle each other in the NFL, but it's like, hey, I know the clip has been posted a few times of the "We Want Caleb" chants during the Oklahoma years for Spencer Rattler this week.
Yeah.
But it is interesting. They were teammates for a short period, but they were teammates.
Well, yeah, Caleb basically took Spencer's job because Spencer Rattler was playing poorly. They had recruited this wonderful athlete, this freshman named Caleb Williams, heavily recruited freshman named Caleb Williams.
Number one quarterback in the country.
Yeah. And previous to that, as you said, Spencer Rattler, the previous year, the number one recruit in the country at quarterback. I am actually, usually during the week I write about X factors and positions to watch or players to watch. This week, I did decide. I'm still doing my positional previews: run defense versus pass defense, and you know what I mean.
Yeah.
But instead of players to watch, positions to watch, and X factors rather, I already wrote about the Saints versus Dennis Allen / Kendre Miller versus Dennis Allen, storyline that came out, I believe, yesterday on Saints Wire this weekend, and I'm prepping it for Sunday morning read. The Caleb Williams versus Spencer Rattler angle, because I is it going to make a difference? They're not going to go against each other head to head, obviously, but it does make for a fun storyline in a game like this, and it's going to be fun to watch each quarterback battle, because these players have emotions. They're not robots. Rattler is aware of who replaced him at Oklahoma. He was there. Caleb is well aware of the scrutiny he has been under, not just as the number 1 overall pick, but all the way back to his last year at USC, the Trojans USC.
The real USC. And I live in Carolina.
Thank you.
The real USC.
Yeah, I don't call South Carolina USC ever.
And nobody here does.
No, I know they don't.
The national media tries to, because nobody here calls them USC.
No, the national media are idiots. That's why. But yeah, I mean, it's a fun storyline, juicy storyline to write about, and frankly, I think this game, which should be a fun game, I think this game probably comes down to which of these quarterbacks play better, and that's what makes it fun, most fun of all.
Which quarterback doesn't turn the ball over?
Nope.
As fun as that one is, I'm really looking forward to seeing, because you kind of said it with Spencer. Like, Spencer Rattler knows who replaced him. The other thing, players and coaches and staffs, they remember when they've been done wrong. They remember who did them wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Grudges are held.
They are, and I have always felt like I have been sort of in this situation as a player. I have definitely been in it as a coach, and I will tell you, it means a hell of a lot more to a coach than it does a player. I promise you that.
So I'm really interested to see, one, how many touches Kendre Miller gets, because he's gotten more touches week to week. I'm curious how many conversations, if any, have really happened about, hey, if we get the ball at the 1, you got to give me the ball. Right? Things like that, those type of conversations. In this situation, I mean, it's just pure speculation. I don't know. I can't call Kendre Miller and ask him right now, but I think this one's definitely he's definitely gonna have a chip on his shoulder for this game. I know he's got to have a bad taste in his mouth, and I think this one's gonna mean a little bit to him. Not just to prove to Dennis Allen, but I mean, there was a lot of people ready to write him off.
We were.
I always had hope. Go watch the tape.
Same.
I was. It's like, at what point do you have to go? Okay, we can only hold on for so long.
Yeah,
because he wasn't playing. And I don't. I'm sure we did talk about it, but I don't know if we ever talked about how weird that situation was. I think we touched on it. I don't think we ever really went into it. It's like, how weird was that situation? Because at first it was like he went on IR.
Mm-hmm.
We're all sitting there and we're like, of course he went on IR. Here we go again. And then we get the reports from the wonderful people who have their boots on the ground that Kendrick's really not that hurt.
Are you talking about the hamstring injury to open last training camp, or the when he got hurt against the Chargers?
I think it was when he got hurt against the Chargers.
Okay. Yeah,
And
because when he got hurt against the Chargers, Allen immediately put him on IR. Like immediately. And that
it was like, wait, he could have been ready next week. Like it was not it wasn't that bad.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what we were hearing from people too, was that like it was kind of like a maybe not a day to day, maybe it was like more of a true week to week. But like there was a chance he could have suited up the following week. And then by the next week, he would have probably 90% sure he would have been ready to roll.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like, huh. The training camp thing was weird too, because the way Dennis talked about him.
Yeah. Which I wrote about in the article.
Right. Because he didn't talk. It'd be different if you just had a coach who was always chewing people out and a coach that was always going in front of cameras and talk. But Dennis didn't do that for anybody.
No.
Which, some people love, some people hated. So to have that, it was like, whoa, like what did Kendre Miller do? And then it felt almost as if he was being punished later in the year when he got hurt against the Chargers.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, okay, this is weird. I know that doesn't sit well with him. Kendre Miller, that is. I know he's going to want some form of revenge against that. I hope he plays the game of his life.
I mean, if he has the game of his life, the Saints have a good chance at winning. And I mean, how poetic justice would this be if the Bears took a late fourth quarter lead? Mark this down, folks. The Bears took a late fourth quarter lead. 2 minutes to go. And Spencer Rattler, the quarterback Dennis Allen drafted in his last year, leads his team down the field against a Dennis Allen defense late. And Saints fans, you know this because we've seen it play out countless times. The DA defense played fairly well all game, got a couple turnovers, etc. Collapses late, gives up a late score that comes to Kendre Miller. Saints win the game.
So are we talking like pull one out of the Sean Payton book and throw a screen late in the game to Kendre Miller, get blockers out in front of him? Or are you talking just like hand the ball to Kendre and he like runs over somebody and has like a beast quake type run? Like what you got to?
Well, that would be awesome. Now the picture I painted is John Sigler at Saints Wire does a round table of all of our game predictions every week, along with a bold prediction. My game prediction was Saints 29, Bears 27. Bold prediction is Bears score late to take a lead. Spencer Rattler responds against Dennis Allen's defense, drives the Saints down for a game-winning touchdown. Game-winning touchdown goes to Kendre Miller. Short run, short pass reception, something like that.
That'd be great. I'd love it. I think it'd be very poetic for DA to lose this game in some sort of like unbelievable way, because there were so many games with Dennis Allen where it was like, how the hell did they lose that game? So I would love for him to feel the pain that we felt all those years.
Mm-hmm. Well, listen, and this is a Dennis Allen defense that ranks 27th overall, 31st against the run, 31st in yards per carry, and is just anemic at pressuring the quarterback. 7 sacks, 19 quarterback hits in 5 games. That's among the lowest in the league. So, again, we've seen this script play. Dennis Allen was a great defensive coordinator for the Saints. But we always, and for that he probably will and should be in the Saints Hall of Fame eventually. I think it's going to take a couple years, for the DA stink to wear off, DA head coach stink. But that's just it. As a head coach, this is what his defenses were. They couldn't stop the run, they couldn't pressure the passer, and they gave up drives in key moments of ball games.
I do want to talk about the Bears offense just for a second before we get off here. I mean, you want to talk about, I don't know about winning the lottery. That might be a little dramatic, but definitely getting the coach, the guy that was available this offseason, and Ben Johnson. Good pickup. Makes a lot of sense with Caleb Williams, who we mentioned earlier. You know, I have to applaud the Bears. Now, they really did it in one trade, but asset collecting, I think, has become a more popular buzz term. I won't use say buzzword, buzz term over the last few years across all sports. And the Bears did a really good job of asset collecting over the last few years. A lot of that was the Bryce Young trade, where the Panthers traded up from 9-1, and the Bears got a haul of picks, DJ Moore, etc. Eventually, Caleb Williams. They've done a good job of that. And I didn't expect this year to be like the leap year for Chicago, but I certainly expected this to be a year where you saw maybe not drastic improvement, but a good bit of improvement. I don't know if we've seen that yet. I think Caleb Williams certainly looks more comfortable than he did last year, which I will give him a lot of credit for. I think Johnson's system fits his skill set better than the previous regime. But this is still a team where, and for as much film as you watch, I think you're going to agree with me. Is there times you watch Chicago and you go, yeah, you know what? Like, I can see the vision. Like, I can see what's going on here. This team's going to be good. And then, like, the very next drive, you're like, what the hell is this? You know, or what is Caleb thinking? Or, like, why is this the decision? That's what's frustrating, I think, for Chicago fans. And it will continue to be frustrating until they figure it out. But with all that said, it's one of those fun frustrations as an analyst or just someone who enjoys NFL football, because you're like, okay, this is frustrating, but whenever they figure whatever the hell this is out, like, they're going to be a fun football team.
Yeah, I mean, I like the Bears running back, DeAndre Swift, although they have zero depth there. You know, what you mentioned about wide receiver, you know, DJ Moore is a player you and I were fans of all the way back to his early Carolina days. But they added Rome Odunze, you know, who's really you know, you want to talk about a number one wideout, that Rome Odunze. And then they added another one, Luther Burden III, in this year's draft. They already had a talented tight end in Cole Kmet, very underrated tight end, you know, throughout the league. But they added another one. I don't get this specific decision either. I understand the want for drafting a tight end, but they went with Colston Loveland over Tyler Warren, something that surprised you, me, and Alan on our draft-a-thon. You know, but again, you're just at that point you're splitting hairs. You know, if we're the scouts, we obviously would have went with Tyler Warren. Their scouts went with Colston Loveland. We will see how that turns out. But Caleb himself continues to be the type of player that will make your jaw drop in amazement on one play or one drive, and then make you yank your hair out on the next. I continue to have my doubts whether Caleb Williams can be an elite NFL quarterback, or even a consistently very good NFL quarterback, because I don't know if he has it between the ears. You know, his decision making, and he has moments where he just sprays the ball all over the field, you know, with little accuracy whatsoever. But he has the right, if he's going to settle down, he has the right coach to do it. And you see the explosive capabilities in Chicago's offense. I am very interested to see, after all the explosive plays that New Orleans gave up last week, how they're able to bounce back this week. That, you know, we talked about, you know, whichever quarterback plays better, Spencer Rattler or Caleb Williams, you know, the quarterback that plays better will be the winner of this game. That goes hand in hand with the defense that they're facing. We talked about, you know, the Chicago defense and where they can be had. Well, I want to know how New Orleans is going to respond to the big play capabilities of Caleb Williams and those receivers. Secondary played so well against Jackson Dart against the Giants. Played pretty well against Josh Allen and the Bills too the week before, and then a total regression. So, which end of the roller coaster are we going to get this week? I think that's going to be a big tell on Sunday.
Yeah, and you brought up a good point. You know, you talked about Rome Odunze, Luther Burton especially, and DJ Moore, who can be used a little bit as like a gadget guy, like Curtis Samuel. There's a lot of big play ability, and we saw the miscommunications, and we saw the overplaying of on different routes by the safeties last week. That's terrifying against a team like Chicago. And you talked about Caleb Williams being a guy that your jaw drops one moment, pulls out the hair the next. Dude's got a strong arm. Maybe not the most accurate arm, but he's got a very strong arm. So that's one thing I'm going to look for early is how comfortable is Chicago taking shots downfield and really challenging a young secondary in New Orleans? How does New Orleans respond to that? I think that's going to be a big key to it all. I also want to see the Saints defense, especially Chase Young, a guy that Bob has kind of crowned the nickname of almost or near finisher. How does a guy like that really get in the head of a young quarterback of Caleb Williams? How does Cameron Jordan affect him? How does Carl Granderson, Brian Bresee, what are those guys doing to make his life a little uncomfortable? Because he is a guy that when you get him uncomfortable, he's going to make bad decisions.
Oh, yeah.
And he's a guy that, you know what? I love a guy that believes in his arm talent. I really do. But sometimes you have a guy who believes in his arm talent so much that he thinks his throwing arm was sculpted by Jesus himself. And I think Caleb Williams fits that category, where it's a little bit more than a gunslinger. Right, that word gets thrown around way too much nowadays too.
Yeah,
it's a little more than a gunslinger. It is a guy who truly believes he can make every throw on the field in any situation, and that gets Caleb in trouble. So if you can get pressure in his face and make him uncomfortable, you then allow a unit that had a bad week last week. You allow a unit who probably needs a little bit of a confidence boost, the opportunity to what? Make plays on the ball, potentially force some takeaways. So that's going to be the interesting thing for me. Bob, anything else you want to touch on before we, get some shut-eye? And I don't know about you, but I haven't slept in days, so you never sleep. What am I talking about?
I've been sleeping even less. I shifted my place in the room because it's fourth quarter, about 2:40 left. A 5-0 Miami Hurricanes team is down to a 4-1 Louisville Cardinals team, 24-21. But Miami is driving with now 2:30 left to go at about midfield. So, you college football fans, I've been watching more college football this year than what I have the last several years. Usually I just focus on individual prospects, during my crazy draft analysis. But yeah, I've watched a lot more college football than I have NFL football so far this year.
A lot of parity this year.
Oh yeah,
it's fun. It's not. There's not a one or two runaway team.
No.
Teams, which it had been the last handful of years, right? You kind of had an idea. Obviously, Alabama's dynasty, and then Georgia had this little small window of back to back or 2 out of the last 3, and now you have it's really anybody's game, which is fun. And I can appreciate that. I think for the big schools, NIL certainly helps talent spread around.
Oh, yeah.
I think NIL is the worst thing to happen to small Division I schools.
Yes. No question about it.
I think it's a dangerous game, and I don't know what the solution is. But for people that just love watching the big teams on TV, NIL is the best thing that's happened.
Mm-hmm.
For the people that are supporting and love their small D1 schools in the Mountain West or, or the FCS, it's tough because how do you convince guys to not leave you for $10,000 a year?
Right.
It's a tough go. You know what sport's going to absolutely suck because of NIL? College basketball is going to suck.
I've been down on college basketball the last several years anyway. I like when a player stays in at least 3 years, and that's long ago went by the wayside.
I'll throw this number out, even though it has nothing to do with football, and then we can get up. We can tell people where to find us and get out of here. The numbers came out for college basketball, the most money spent by one school. And remember, kind of what you just said is these are like 8-month rentals because these kids aren't staying. Let's say at least the starting 5 for most of the time doesn't stay after a year or two. Kentucky is the most expensive roster in college basketball. Their roster is going to cost them $22.5 million.
Now, when Calipari was still there, even before NIL, I suspect that Calipari was spending millions upon millions of dollars.
Sure. But Virgin should be publicly out there. Yeah, we're paying these 18-year-olds
right
$22.5 million. Unbelievable. But I digress. Bob, where can everybody find you and your work this week and next week and the week after that? And where can people get the popcorn ready?
Folks, my personal social media is Bob Rose on Facebook, at BobbyR2613 over on Twitter. I post all of my articles there as well as our show links, and a bunch of screenshots, coming up soon about specific people, places, and things that I think you're going to be wanting to be ready for, along with updates on legalities about said people, places, and things. Going to be entertaining, dysfunctional, but entertaining. And make sure you follow me, John Sigler, and all of us over at the Saints Wire too. It's a USA Today publication. Saints Wire can be found on Twitter, Facebook, pretty much anywhere. You find your sports media. And make sure also you guys book that cabin for the 2026 Original Go Black and Gold Celebrity Charity Fan Cruise. Do so with Summer Cochran, or get a hold of Shireen DeWalt at the tcynow.org website. If you have any questions or need those contact numbers to book your cabin, get a hold of me. I'd be happy to talk about my experience on the cruise, tell you why you should go, tell you why you should benefit such a great cause. If you can't go on the cruise, please donate a little bit to tcynow.org, and make sure you keep up with that physical and mental health. Get those doctor's appointments made, go to those checkups, lead a healthier lifestyle, and pass along the same word and words of encouragement to your loved ones.
That's what happens when you have to cough and sneeze and all that stuff. You end up muting yourself. But you can follow me virtually everywhere, at BT Boylan. Bob, my friend, it's going to be a interesting stretch of days, not just for the Saints, but for you as well. I'm looking forward to it. I really am. Fingers crossed that all goes well on those fronts. Guys, thanks so much for tuning in. As Bob said, if you can't go on the cruise, make sure you reach out and get connected with Get Checked or Check Out, tcynow.org. If you have found us tonight, you may have noticed we are only streaming on one platform. That is going to be a permanent change, and we will be updating you guys with that. And hopefully you guys reach out to your friends and let them know where they can find us. So until Sunday afternoon for a post-game wrap-up show, hopefully a happy post-game wrap-up show. That's Bob Rose. I'm Brendan Boylan. We'll see you then. And until then, hope you guys find some peace, spread love, practice positivity. See you then. Who dat?
Night all.